The capital of European skyscrapers is different from where you may expect. Berlin, Paris, and Madrid are not the topics at hand. It's Frankfurt. But why is there such a significant increase in new construction here? How are all these towers being built so close together? And why is Frankfurt erecting a lot more skyscrapers when the rest of Europe doesn't appear to be bothered by it? Skyscrapers are disliked in Europe. It could afford to build skyscrapers of the same size and scope as those in America or China, thanks to its wealth and dense population, but it chooses not to. Europeans have a large population and a high GDP, yet they're infamous for resisting changing how their cities are built. To date, 66% of the skyscrapers constructed in Europe are concentrated in only 5 cities: London, Paris, Istanbul, Moscow, and Frankfurt. There are many reasons why most European cities don't construct towering buildings. They have the propensity to protect historic structures, a history of mistakes that left a blight on picturesque city skylines, and a tendency to clump the few skyscrapers they have together outside the city. On the other side, Frankfurt features skyscrapers right in the city center, and it will continue to grow. Frankfurt has distinguished itself as an odd outlier among the continent's other low-rise cities. The Commerzbank Tower, the highest structure in Europe for the longest time, is located here, along with 95% of all the skyscrapers in Germany. There are a few reasons for that now. A 70-kilometer greenbelt encircling Frankfurt restricts development to an area about half the size of Venice. It stops urban sprawl, leaving only the option to expand. Additionally, stringent regulations governing airport flight patterns restrict development to only a tiny portion of the city. Further, the Second World War followed, and its destruction of Europe was followed by an overpowering yearning to reconstruct what had been destroyed. Few American cities resisted the demand for floor space that propelled skyscraper development across the continent. The Soviets mainly constructed mid-rise, repetitive structures that sought to rehouse much of the population in the east, and in the west, the constrictive Brusselsization phenomenon took hold in a response to a wave of massive post-war modernist structures that had little regard for architectural or cultural value. As a result, modern structures are generally despised throughout Europe, with many people viewing them as soulless or bland. Frankfurt suffered significant damage during World War II, creating more fabulous room for new construction. Frankfurt became a financial powerhouse during reconstruction of West Germany. Many of the world's largest banks and financial organizations still have operations here, making this a notably wealthy city. The competition's outcomes will be considered when changing the urban development plan. The proposed linking routes, corridors, and squares are intended to enhance the experience of the self-contained property and attach it to the nearby areas of the city center. Publicly accessible open areas like a roof garden, the main square, and several eateries and shops will steadily raise the standard of living in the financial district. As a result, the plans are also consistent with the municipal objectives of improving the area's accessibility, increasing its general usability, and making room for apartments and hotels in this location. A quick reminder before we further continue our discussion on this topic. If you've enjoyed the video so far, consider subscribing as we frequently upload informative and educational videos. Let's continue. People from all over the world have come to the city because of its richness. In Frankfurt, this is the case because 50% of citizens lack German passports. This may contribute to the apparent openness for larger-scale developments and a more globalized architectural aesthetic. The project for Frankfurt, which ironically consists of 4 buildings and will significantly alter the city's skyline, is driving this construction boom. These skyscrapers, created by UN Studio, will function as an entire neighborhood when they're finished in 2023. Tower 1 will be 233 meters tall and primarily comprise offices. With a height of 173 meters, Tower 2 will house serviced apartments. Tower 4 will rise 100 meters and include business space, flats, and a hotel. Tower 3 is 120 meters high. Additionally, there will be additional public areas, stores, restaurants, and other amenities. Technically, only buildings 1 and 2 qualify as skyscrapers because they're taller than the 150-meter barrier set by the Council on Tall Buildings and Urban Habitat. Currently, the distinctive architectural features of these structures maximize the quantity of light each tower receives and the views from each floor. Each structure is further apart from the others as they abruptly bend away from each other and the neighboring buildings. The city center and the financial area have been divided for many years. This plan will build a brand new neighborhood with various uses by reuniting them. But as if constructing 4 towers on a small site in the middle of a large city wasn't tricky enough, each of these skyscrapers is being built using a different method. This is because the development is mixed use, which means the floor plates are highly diverse. The locations of the columns, the amount of glazing, and the number of bathrooms in a hotel differ from those in an apartment or an office. As a result, the drainage pipe routes cast into the concrete floor slabs also range from tower to tower. However, the concrete cores of these structures, which few of us will ever truly see, are where these structures' main differences lie. Cores now tend to define the speed of work on a skyscraper construction site because skyscrapers can't stand up without them, as they provide rigidity and resistance to lateral and vertical stresses. The remainder of that floor can be constructed around the core once it's been raised to a given floor level. You guessed it, for Frankfurt is simultaneously erecting 4 cores. To do so, the project team utilizes a complicated system designed for each skyscraper. The ACS self-climbing system and the RCS Max fall under this category. These climbing units have platforms and wall formwork that can be raised from one story to another using built-in hydraulics. The ability to self-climb the structures as they rise and establish a safe environment for employees working on the cores reduces the time as planned with the project's cranes, which are always in great demand. The weight of the formwork system is moving from the higher working brackets to the lower climbing brackets as each core floor is finished. The entire system is then raised to the next level using hydraulic jacks. In the next pour, embedded anchors are used to secure the red working brackets, which receive the system's weight once more. The bottom deck is then raised to join the rest of the core system when the yellow climbing brackets are freed. Up until the very top of each tower, this pattern is repeated. The RCS Max uses similar thinking, but rail climbing is used instead. As Frankfurt continues its construction drive, a situation partially attributed to a Brexit building boom, these systems will become increasingly necessary. After the Brexit vote, several sizable construction projects were announced in Frankfurt in 2017. Projects by Ole Sheeran, UN Studio, and Bjarke Ingels Group, including for Frankfurt. Businesses frequently emphasize cost-cutting opportunities as the primary source of value. However, there are a number of other project performance metrics, like shortened timelines, that they should consider when evaluating new technologies. It was perceived as the city's attempt to entice banks and other financial institutions away from London, where these organizations were now trying to establish a physical presence. The price of real estate soared as a result. 20 buildings were going to be erected within 5 years, and the cost of premium apartments increased by 25% in just 1 year. 2020 then materialized. While the epidemic halted Frankfurt's growth, some 40 significant companies relocated here after Brexit, and momentum is still growing as the world opens up again. In 10 years, that won't look the same. Over the following 10 years, Frankfurt will undergo significant development. Many solutions offer the essential technological foundation for driving the comprehensive digital transformation of construction companies, and the density and size of investments in technology startups in the industry have increased significantly. Therefore, embracing digitalization is a technique to strengthen competitive positioning and raise profitability. It's also essential to augment available capacity with existing resources to satisfy consumer demand. Its skyline will be transformed entirely by 2030 and will have solidified its position as Europe's capital of skyscrapers. It demonstrates the incredible power of construction and how a city can grow with just a few buildings. What do you think about Frankfurt's undergoing significant development? Please share your views with us in the comments section below. If you learned something new today, make sure to like this video, share it with your friends, and subscribe to Madewell Finder so that we can keep making such fantastic videos for you. Thank you for watching.